Hello everyone, friends and subscribers, Kernel of Wisdom here. This is going to be a video response to the to a fellow YouTube user and a friend and subscriber of mine who goes by the name JesusSwoope. He also has a channel called Swoope Films, I believe. This is going to be a response to to his video on the AIDS epidemic and how it's killing black women. He was eager to hear the the black community of YouTube, or people who make videos. Excuse me. I apologize for the presentation. This is going to be a very different upload. I'm going to be very serious, so I'm trying to subdue my voice and delivery. A lot of times my delivery is very wry, so to speak, like wry and droll, and just sort of uh, that sort of deadpan sense of humor. But I don't want to have that in my voice for this video. I want to suppress that because this is a serious topic, and it is a topic that I care about, and that I do have some opinions on, and I wanted to prove that to Mr. Swoope, because he made a request that I do a video on this topic. But anyway, he in his video he wanted to hear from black YouTubers, and I believe he said, hang on, I want to address something he said to me in that comment section. I believe he said he thinks the black people don't like to talk about this because it embarrasses them, and I do believe he's partially correct, because a lot of times with these statistics on black Americans, and see, as I've mentioned before in my other uploads, though I may criticize black women and or black people in general, sometimes I really tend to avoid statistics, because they're always presented in such a way to make you think the problem is greater than what it is. Negative statistics on black Americans, they're sort of manipulated in such a way. That's not to say the statistics aren't true. It's just to say that when the commoner looks at a statistic like 60% of all new AIDS cases are black women, what they're going to process and register is 60% of black women have AIDS. And a lot of black people see this, and they get angry and defensive, rightfully so they don't address the issue. But I don't think that's the other reason why the issue rarely gets addressed. It also rarely gets addressed for the simple fact that AIDS is very much preventable. And I think a lot of times we would rather focus on the diseases that are fatal, or that have a high risk of fatality, but are not preventable, such as certain cancers. And some cancers are preventable. Lots of colon cancer and lung cancer, that usually is preventable. Other cancers, that's just bad luck. So I think a lot of us would rather focus our government funding on the fatal diseases that aren't preventable, that can come at any time. And some of these diseases you could just be born with them, or you could have a hereditary. Sometimes cancer is hereditary in people's families, and they won't know, and that scares people even more than AIDS. So a lot of times we focus on that. And by the way, I also wanted to address that I think the reason why black Americans have a higher fatality rate than other groups for AIDS is for the same reason we have a higher fatality rate for the aforementioned cancers, usually prostate and breast, and for type 2 diabetes. Diabetes. I think a lot of times, another thing we don't talk about and which is part of the solution, is that a lot of Black Americans have this habit of not taking medical checkups seriously. Either not taking medical checkups seriously, or sometimes we're in a socioeconomic situation where regular checkups are not top on the priority list, or they're not available. So it's a combination of those two things, which makes our fatality rates for certain diseases higher than other groups. Because it's terrible that we have such high fatalities in type 2 diabetes. Because not only is type 2 diabetes preventable, but it's also reversible. You can't say that about the other aforementioned illnesses. So I think part of the solution is that we start in our culture and in our community, we start taking medical checkups seriously, because a lot of us who actually are in a financial position to have regular medical checkups, we still don't prioritize them for cultural reasons. Because a lot of times in our culture, we always there's this latent distrust of medicine and doctors, or white doctors, especially when you have these people walking around saying AIDS was invented to kill black people. Okay, even if that's true, and I'm not saying I agree with that, even if that is true, it's still preventable. And that main fact gets glossed over, that it is preventable. And I also want to say, JesusSwoope, that when I left those comments on your video, and at first I was confused why you had that reaction to my comments. You thought I was critiquing you or something, and I wasn't. But now I realize why. I actually stopped your video at that 48-second to 1 minute 11-second mark and submitted those comments. I didn't know you were in the video talking about it yourself. I thought this was just going to be a snippet on an AIDS epidemic special, or an AIDS report or something. And I kind of got impatient and stopped it there, because what I mentioned right there at the minute mark is another reason why I don't think we talk about AIDS. Because a lot of times when I see these specials on AIDS in the black community, maybe I'm incorrect, but from what I've seen, people aren't interested in legitimate solutions. People are interested in solutions that will satisfy their ego, and that is very frustrating to me. And that's just really irritating. And these people who do this are much older than I am. They're like 10, 20, 30 years older. Instead of saying something that's a reasonable solution, they'll usually say something stupid like black men need to stop being on the down low, and just leave it at that. They'll completely leave out the fact that promiscuity is glorified in the black community. They'll leave out the fact that urban black communities have the school system run by white liberals who put it into children's heads that being sexually active when you're 12, 13 years old is okay, as long as you use a condom, even though condoms fail. And in the hands of a 12 and 13-year-old, a lot of them don't know what they're doing, but we have school systems teaching this to our children and not educating them early on about the magnitude of AIDS and STDs. But no, a lot of these specials don't address that. They just go to black men being on the down low and black men cheating, and that's very irritating. As I said, it's kind of like the title of your latest video, not your latest video, but I was looking through some of your archives, and I saw that you had one video titled "Why Do Black People Hate Bill Cosby?" Well, for the same reason I mentioned, because a lot of black people, especially black women, do not want to hear solutions that don't flatter and feed their egos. If it's something that criticizes their behavior, they don't, and has them take, responsibility and accountability, they don't want to hear it. It's going to be considered bashing. you're going to be considered an Uncle Tom, or you're going to be considered like somebody sheltered, or somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, and they just come from a white neighborhood or whatever. Especially with me considering my voice inflections, but I actually wasn't from a white neighborhood, contrary to what some may think once meeting me. As I said, this is a very loaded discussion, so I think I might stop this video now and come back and have part 2. Thank you for listening. Colonel was out for now. I'll be back.